We're online. The 3, 2.
Yeah. Good.
All right, we're live. Thank you. Welcome everybody to committee meetings. We'll start with buildings and grounds, even though it's the second on the agenda. Mr. Hughes, what's up with buildings and grounds? We don't really have a whole lot going on right now.
No, the only thing is that on the Blairsville campus, we did have that issue with the gas. It didn't seem like we were getting enough, so we changed that regulator.
Right.
And then I actually had the gas company come back in, and her meter is, I believe, where we were getting trouble. So we had them jump across the meter, bypass it. That was probably a week ago. We have not had a gas issue since. So we're guessing it was the meter.
Oh, so it wasn't the regulator.
Well, they still think the regulator was too small.
Oh, okay. So that still needs
Might
to
have
be
been a
fixed.
mixture of both.
Any disruption in heat?
Not since we bypassed that.
Elementary school has heat it needs, right? Okay. How's snow removal going?
Good, steady?
Yeah, steady. Do you have a supply of salt?
Yes, we're good.
Good on salt?
Hopefully to the end of the year, unless we get snow nonstop every day for the next 20 days.
Never know.
Of course, ABM is still in a holding pattern.
Correct. Still, obviously, I want to get that out.
Anybody have any questions for buildings and grounds? Thank you, Mr. Hughes.
Thank you. You all have a good evening.
You
Thank
too.
you too.
You too.
Curriculum. We had a curriculum meeting a couple of weeks ago. So
Last week.
Oh, so just last week?
yeah, time flies when you're having fun. So we had a curriculum meeting last week, and there's still some items on the agenda we'd like to discuss. So Mrs. Gibson, floor is yours.
Okay. All right, Mr. Martell, do you have anything else to add about the middle school, high school media center project proposal?
No, we feel pretty good where we're at. Just looking to get board approval, and Mr. Hughes can get started. We're still working with the students to, they're excited. I mean, we're going to meet with them again next week to talk about the colors and some different things that they want to be a part of. So it's just, it's going to be a fun time to be involved with it.
So 82,000 coming out of capital grants, capital projects, and then 252,000 coming out of grants for an overall 334,000. So what did I say? 30%, something, 34% coming out of capital funds for a project. That's pretty good.
And then next month, we'll bring you the Salzburg Elementary Library along with the Blairsville Elementary Library, both of those. And those are both written into the grant involvement as well, so I'll have those breakdowns for you. And we're also very fortunate. I found out that the Salzburg Foundation is in place. We'll be working with Mr. Dixon and Mr. Kulik to be able, they're going to bring some resources to the table because they have that outside project plan, which is wonderful.
Yeah, right.
So I think that's really going to be a special space. I do, and you know, so.
Okay, we did have a presentation about Commonplace Coffee, and there's some pricing here on the agenda, but are we considering getting some pricing from other places?
Well, let's get a feel from the board here. Usually we would, a situation like this, we would ask for 3 bids on this equipment. How does the board feel about sole sourcing Commonplace or going out for 2 additional bids?
My opinion is we go out from different bids.
Go out for different bids?
Yeah.
I agree.
I agree. We go
Yeah.
out.
All right, so I will get 2 more quotes before, hopefully I'll try to hustle them up and get them before next week, if that's okay.
Mhm.
Can we also see what we're able to provide? If the cafeteria is able to do anything, do we have?
Yeah, I'll ask George, like, if we have a special, like, he has some way to, I'll figure out how to get other pricing for you.
Okay.
So, but I'll try to hustle up and get it so you have it next, so you can still make a decision for next week.
Okay,
Keep it on track. That's all I'd ask.
okay.
All right, Power Schools is the student information system we talked about. Anything else to report on that? I don't have the files in front of me, but
Make sure they can hear you. You're talking pretty soft.
yeah. Anything to?
Oh, no, Power School, no, we're just excited. Hopefully we get approval. We'll put a transition and implementation plan in. Once again, all these systems are going to start to tie together. The teachers are excited because they won't be grading in multiple places, as we talked about. Parents will be excited for those of you who know that what it, the use is, how easy the use of it. Plus, it's going to be more cost effective over the years.
It's savings of $22,000 a year
Right, yeah, it was like. half the price.
for a superior tool
Mhm.
After the first year.
after the first year.
Right.
The first year is going to be an expense of $3,740 because you got to do a sign up fee.
Mhm.
And after that.
Ed Harris Solutions Insight.
That is,
Insight, sorry.
yeah, at Insight, that is a continuation for our data management and analytics tool. After evaluating that tool, it's not used to capacity, but that doesn't mean that we will get it to that point. So right now, for what we have stored in there, it's the best tool that we have instead of trying. And I don't want to overwhelm the teachers
Mhm.
by throwing another tool on it. So we've kind of come to a gentleman's agreement about Power School and about Canvas. They're familiar with that Insight. So I just thought it would be better just to kind of maintain the plan we do. And I have used this tool in the past and it's very good, but we just need to maximize its benefit here.
We have on the agenda to have Mr. Geesey come in as an independent contractor for workforce and career development.
If you recall, he did a presentation. We have, obviously with the pandemic and just a transition to new apprenticeships and different things, how we're doing them are changing on, going on more of an online format. We have to, so we have more things that we have to do. But I thought it was good for him to show you that. So we will use some ESSER money because some of that will be online and some will be the general fund.
And we also talked about the Zoom meeting, which we're doing tonight for our virtual meetings and different webinars that can take place.
Correct.
And for anybody that's listening, we decided to go with Zoom because it's a little bit more user friendly. And we also find that when somebody wants to speak, it's a lot easier to do that as opposed to the former, what were we using before?
Google Meet.
Google Meets, yes. With Zoom, we can let you come in, let you go out, much easier. Okay?
I have a question about the coffee thing with the kids. Insurance is going to cover this, like when you ask for not just the automated, but the other form to teach them to be barista, are we covered? Like if somebody gets burnt?
You're asking about the liability issues, yes.
Yeah,
You bring up a good point because when we were talking to the gentleman from Commonplace Coffee, he mentioned there's steam and hot
yeah,
milk and things are boiling and you're exposed to that.
yes.
Does
When you have a
anybody- Yep.
special ed, even though you might have someone else there, another student that isn't, I'm
Well,
worried about that.
I understand, but we also have special ed students take shop class.
I'm not saying we don't. We
We
also
can,
have accidents there.
We
I'll
do
tell
have
you.
insurance,
Absolutely.
and I can confirm that for you just to make sure, but I think it's a good question, but we do have liability errors and liability.
I think you should, if it's on school grounds during the day and a regular school day, it would be covered.
Yeah.
What's our solicitor's thoughts on that?
We would again need to see the policy, but I haven't seen it, but I would presume that there should be coverage.
Check it out.
And I mean, there's the other question of, does it fall within the immunity statute, which it may or may not, but more importantly, I think the insurance piece should cover it.
Good question, Mrs. Brown. Anything else on curriculum? Anybody have questions on curriculum?
That's it,
We covered a lot of that last week.
right?
We did buildings and grounds, of course. Policy and safety. Mrs. Whitfield, floor is yours.
All righty, we have 3 policies that we want to look at. First of all, we had a first read last month on the student discipline policy. We're looking for a second read tonight and for approval this month. I don't know if everybody had a chance to look at it. The principals were given this first to make any changes, which were very minimal. And so I'm hoping that we have approval at the next voting meeting. Secondly, we have extracurricular participation by charter cyber students. And what we've added to that, and it's something we probably need to discuss, is under authority, we were adding interscholastic sports teams would pay $3,000 per student, high school musicals, $1,000 per student, band, $2,000 per student, and chorus, $1,000 per student. And that's if they're in a cyber charter school. And the thought is that we are paying those schools, the students' tuitions, and yet they're coming to our school to play sports. So we want to look at having a charge for the sports. And I don't know how you feel about these amounts, but that's something we need to discuss if we want to do and how we want to do it.
What's everybody think about those amounts?
I think it's a lot of money. $3,000, like, and I understand the reason behind it. It's just whenever I see that,
I don't think you're going to get a lot of students that are going to participate at that cost. Sorry.
right.
Well, remember this,
Especially now.
That's the school paying it, though. the
Right,
cyber
that's-
school, not the
Yeah, that's
student.
what
Yeah.
the school, not the
Yeah.
student.
You know,
Well,
I'm telling you, you're not, they're
So-
not going to pay.
So what Mrs. Brown is saying, they're not going to pay that. So should we have a second cost if the cyber school decides not to pay it? Would we come back and say, okay, if it has to be paid by the student or of course, the parents, could we say $1,000, 500, 1,000, something like that?
You
don't know.
can't do that either because then they're
don't know.
that's going that way.
Yeah, it's,
You can't,
I'm sorry, Linda. I didn't mean to
no,
cut you
I
off.
meant they're, if we do that, they're definitely going to say the heck with you guys.
Okay, I just bring it up, just try to see what we think, but go ahead.
The guidance from the PDE on this question, and we kind of breached it a few meetings back, is their touchstone is it cost neutrality. We're not making money, we're not losing money.
Yeah.
That's the idea with these costs. And if it's not paid, it would be handled through the claims process, through the PDE with respect to the charter school in a billing dispute
Oh,
rather than the student.
oh.
So
okay.
if there is a dispute between the school district and the charter school, and the charter school decides we're not paying this amount because we take whatever issue with it, then at that point, there's under the charter school law, there's a claims process that you go through and you would seek payment from the charter school.
Okay, so that process obviously doesn't happen overnight. So what happens to the student participating in the activity? They continue to participate?
That's my understanding of it, because I don't think that they want to punish the student at all.
I
for
would
it.
agree with that.
But rather want to get payment from the proper party, which isn't the student, but is the charter school. And then once it goes through the process of, the hearing through the PDE or any subsequent appeals beyond that point, there should be finality of payment if it's appropriate. But again, getting back to the first point, when it comes to costs and what you should be looking at, it's cost neutrality. That's the guidance.
So the other thought is that if parents are unhappy with the amount and things are dragging out too long, we can always make the option of the student coming back to BSSD. That might happen with some of them, and then they don't have to worry about that. But
I don't think we have a problem with this because this is the charter school we're asking to pay. The only
Right.
thing we need to make sure of is that we have the accurate numbers for the payment. So did we run the numbers to get those amounts that we're going to charge the cyber charters? Like, do we know how much it costs to participate in a musical? Do we know how much it costs to play on a football team? Are
I
those-
guess.
Where did these numbers come from?
We took these numbers from a couple of different policies, but I can confirm them. We can write, we can look at them.
Yeah, because I really don't think we should have a problem charging a cyber charter.
Right.
right,
Parents.
we already overpay those cyber charters. I mean,
Right.
well overpaid.
They're going to
So-
fight you on that too.
Yeah, they will.
Yeah.
And I did call, so he's right about that neutrality thing. I talked to him also, so, and that's exactly what they told me.
Is it?
Because
Okay,
like band or-
so is that something that we're going to pursue, especially if
Find out.
Okay.
isn't an option, isn't a problem? Are
And
we
that's
going to go
fine.
ahead and
That's fine for me with that price. I mean, I do think it's high, but if that's the cost that we put out for our children,
Yeah.
you know, that we don't see, like in transportation and everything that we do,
Yeah,
like the
yeah,
uniforms, the equipment.
But remember, the
Yeah.
less students you have on the team or in the band, then the more cost per student.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay, so we did this for wrestling a couple years ago when a Homer Center kid wanted to play
Yep.
or wrestle, and I think it came out to like $1,200.
Yeah.
And we thought that was a little excessive, and we cut the parents a break and made it $300.
But the parent was paying for that. There was a
Parent-
difference,
parent-
not cyber school.
Absolutely, absolutely. But my point is, the cost for one wrestler was $1,200
Well,
when we did the math.
you think about transportation. Just
Transportation, referees,
transportation is a lot.
scorekeepers, coaches,
Right.
insurances. Oh, yeah.
That's, yes,
Uniform.
Uniform, all that stuff.
right. So these might not be enough, you know, you never know.
Yeah,
It might not be enough.
it
That's
might
true.
not. That's true. All right, and then the last policy that I'm going to bring to you tonight is the educational equity. We're revisiting educational equity for a first read. It has been Mr. Martell and I met last week, and he has pared it down substantially because it was very wordy and very long. If you remember, I probably bored you to death for 45 minutes. I don't know. But so anyway, I'm hoping that you'll take a close look at it. One of the things that we tweaked a little bit was the educational equity action plan. And Rick pointed out how awkward the what it said now used to say. Now it's going to say that shall provide the steps necessary for education stakeholders in a district to engage and pursue equity, and which is fairness. And I say that because I've talked to so many people that think that equity is equality and equity is fairness. It's having people where they need to be, and fairness is very important to our students. So please take a close look at that, and hopefully we can get that on for a vote next month. And that's all I have.
Do you have any questions on policy? Finance, Mrs. Stiles, the floor is yours.
Okay, so let's go over this budget timeline.
Okay, budget timeline.
I'd ask Mr. Ayata to prepare a budget timeline because I think it's part of just obviously what we went through last spring, moving forward. Just to kind of have what's, you know, to give you a general look at what's going to be, he can go through this, just what he's looking at each month now, but it gives you kind of a perspective on how this is going to come up real quick and how it really never stops in the same month.
What I would like to do is, I would like to put the budget process into a structure, just to make sure that we have a predictable and reliable budget that has input from all departments and principals and any of the stakeholders in the school community. So what I wanted to do is, I went through and looked into different documents and PD budgetary timeline and created this document. It's going to be a live document for a year or so. As we go through, I'm going to customize it, but it is, like I said, it's going to be providing a structure for us to create a reliable and predictable budget that's going to be a very realistic estimate. So that, if you have any questions on any of that.
Where's the AFR?
Annual financial report.
This is a budget site, probably. The AFR wouldn't be in the budget, the budget.
All right, okay, this is a list of steps for the
budget.
the business office to manage the budget.
Yep.
Okay, all right.
Ready to move on to the
Sure.
GOB for
I
Aaron?
wouldn't know.
No, I mean,
I'm used
he
to,
has a step by April.
he has a step by step, but I'm used to the AFR, when we vote on not going higher than taxes, when we vote, you know, the stuff we do.
Yeah.
So I have to get-
Some of these are preliminary
Get something
steps
to that.
that we gather information, we go through, like, for example, this month, I have already had meetings with food service department, buildings and grounds. Next week, I'm meeting with all three principals all those information will be gathered, and then I'll talk to Mr. Martell and other stakeholders as well. We'll bring a preliminary budget for board to review, and we'll get information from the board, and then we'll provide it to the community in May. We'll have that 1 month of community input for the budget, and then go through the final adoption in June. And it's a year-round process, and it has a lot of bits and pieces. But when it comes together, I think it will be a much better structured budget process for us to use.
You can move on when you're just keep going down the list. Right.
Next is the Aaron thing.
Yeah.
I believe this is a yearly budget that we need to bring it to board's attention. I honestly have a little insight on this, but I was told that this is a yearly budget that needs to be approved. We have a stake in that, that we have some obligation with Aaron's budget. So it seems like, I think it was 12%. So that's for boards to approve as well.
They owe us money.
Basically, with Aaron budget, what we just need to be primarily
Why don't take it out of
be concerned with is
that?
if our price that we pay them is going up. And I believe it's been pretty much level for several years. So
Molly, are we still waiting for money from Aaron, the insurance issue? We got out of the health insurance issue?
I don't know where that was under legal. That wasn't in finance. So I'm not,
You three aware of that?
What is that about?
Yeah, apparently not.
no, and I don't think we can talk about it here, Rick.
No, yeah, when we go into executive session, we'll discuss it.
Okay. Next up is the independent auditors report. This is the draft report for board's review. And we will have auditors presentation in the board meeting next week.
Why is there findings for the 17-18 and 18-19 school year for Title I and Title II? This was for the 19-20 school year. Why are we got findings from 4 years ago?
What page you on?
Yeah, near the end, page 61. I go right to the end where they have all the findings.
So I know Justin Jacob is here too to jump in, but when I came into the district last year, and it wasn't reported on the prior, the quarterly reports were late.
Right,
They weren't
right,
done.
right.
So I'm assuming because they take one federal funds or to sample like each year. So it could be IDA, it could be Title I. But Jacob, do you know why that they list that this year? Not, I mean, they obviously can't go back to prior audits, and we did disclose that to them though, fully too.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember on this case, if this was a Title I carry, I think Title I for this year carried over through 3 years because they kept extending the period that we had to spend the money, and we had some unspent.
That's exactly what.
I would have to dive a little bit deeper to get an exact response why it's in this audit report.
All right, it's in the findings. It was the only finding. And I know we had difficulty with our business office in 18 and 19, 17 of those years. So hopefully.
You had multiple hands in the title of the
Yes, we
thing,
did.
so that's why these reconciliation counts, Jacob and I took control of those like right away when I got here last year, and they've all been filed, but that was the problem. You had, that responsibility was put on Mrs. Santoro unfairly by the business office, and then some of the business office did them sometimes, so we are filing them on time now.
Next one. The next one is the time and attendance software program. I want to bring this up for board's attention because we would like to implement a time and attendance software that will create a system with increased safety for the staff, cost efficiency, and enhanced accuracy in payroll. I want to provide some information in order to explain the logic behind this. A time clock system that is compatible. We're looking for a time clock system that is compatible with our ID badges, which is the proximity punch in and punch out system. With this system, in case of an emergency, we will be able to pull in a quick report who's in the building and who's not in the building. For example, we can use these for fire drills, but in case of an actual fire as well, we can take a look at these quick reports. They are designed for these type of situations as well. Also, knowing who are in the premises are also an efficient way to deal with workers' compensation claims. I pulled a report. I asked to get how many hourly employees that we have in our district that pulls a report for payroll. We have 153 employees providing time for payroll in a variety of ways, and including timesheets like paper timesheets, Google Docs, which creates many errors in payroll over the time and resulting many inaccuracies that create a lot of time and effort to resolve. And also many of the employees who goes through this, they get their payments delayed, and it creates problems. Sometimes I observe that in business office, the payroll department going through these for several hours just to make sure that they have hours correct in payroll. And even then, they have errors after we process payroll. So this type of a system will prevent or minimize those. It also helps us to confirm comp time usage, and it's far superior to the paper system that we have in place. That's for sure. This system completely eliminates the two occasional problem of employees sick and personal time not being recorded properly as well. And because like if you're punched in, you know, you're here. If you're not punched in, then we know that you're not here. So we have initial contacts with a couple companies. Jake and I actually had a demo program 2 weeks ago from our frontline, which we use their services for sick and personal time leave. And we would like to provide some proposals, get some proposals and provide it to the board's attention in the next board meeting if the board chooses to move forward with this type of a plan.
I have a couple questions. So this is like an
Lost you, Molly. Molly, we lost you, Molly.
That's right.
There, she's back.
guys get that because everybody froze.
We did not
now.
get it. We didn't get anything.
Okay.
Said you had a couple questions.
Okay, so when you have I know you can get a payroll system that will take care of all of this stuff in one system. It'll do your payroll. It'll track your FMLA. It'll track your time and attendance. It'll track employee schedules. It'll do sick time, comp time, all of that. So how many different systems do we have? And does it make sense to roll them into maybe one system that does everything? I mean, I don't know how, the way I'm hearing, it sounds like we have a couple of different systems for different things.
So this system, we can do this system separate from the other systems that we have. We just need to make sure that those two systems talk to each other. But we can also have a price from Frontline. Well, I actually had a price, but we can get that proposal from Frontline, which we use for our personal and sick time module. So they all will be in one place. In the future, there will be other projects that we can bring up, and they will all be either talking to each other or from one system. Now, that being said, there's advantages and disadvantages of having everything in one system. For example, if the system goes out, one system goes out, then everything is out. That might not be a case if you have two different systems that are compatible to work each other. So, like I said, there's pros and cons on that, just to make sure that.
The problem is, Styles, it's a good question too, and also to Mr. Ayada's point, is that we have the bulk of our hub as we got with ProSoft, right? Okay, so the key now is to be able, when we make those file dumps, as Mr. Ayad is saying, is to be able to do that to make sure that obviously that it's compatible. But we'd almost have to go with another financial software system, which I don't think any of us want to go down that road again, right now at least. So, right, I mean, but I will tell you, like, he'll look at the ProSoft module as well for, it's called, that front loads into payroll and everything. They do have a module. I've done these systems integrations in Connellsville. It'll help Mrs. Gizzy out. It'll streamline everything. But we will know, to your point, we will no longer just get systems that are not compatible. If they don't work, then we're going to go look at somewhere else. I agree with you.
Okay, sounds good. You can bring your pricing back to us.
Did you have another question, Molly?
No, that was all my one big question.
Oh, okay.
So we have two budget transfers for board to approve.
So just so I understand, on the January cash report, Mr. Ayada, we have a balance of 17.2 million. We've got 1.1 million came in, but we sent out 2.6. So we currently have a balance of 15.7 million in our fund balance.
Yeah, are you looking at the?
Looking at the,
financial?
yeah.
Okay. But am I reading this right, that in the general fund,
10.4.
10.4.
but just about a year ago, it was 8.8. Am I right? Is our general fund balance now 10.5 million?
I wouldn't say general fund balance. This is the net cash balance that we have.
Okay, net cash balance. Then in the capital reserve fund, we have 5.2, so for a total of 15.7.
Correct.
What was that one fund where we got all upset? We thought we had 12 million and we found out we had, what was that called?
Your fund balance.
Okay, yeah, that's what I asked. The fund balance now is now 10.4?
As of
One thing that does affect this
Yeah.
cash balance is the timing of cash receipts
Yeah.
of when we receive funding. Last year, we did have some delayed fundings due to quarterlies, so that would play into that number a little bit from year to year, from last year to this year.
So I should really be paying attention to this at the end of June.
Yes.
All right,
And once we get all the accruals and deferrals, yeah, that's when you really pay attention to it.
all right. All right,
That's all it does. No other questions for me.
That's it.
nothing in transportation, nothing in liaison. Mrs. Constantino, anything you want to talk about student activities?
I don't. Do you?
You mentioned earlier the wrestlers you haven't heard about wrestlers having to wear masks or not?
There was a question because some of the wrestlers at the different schools that we go against do not wear masks, and that's their choice. And so I wanted to know what happens whenever we're at states. Are they going to wear masks? Are they going to not attend states? What's going to happen? And so
I mean, the
the-
PIAA, but
they haven't made, the
They haven't made a
PIAA I called, said they have not made that decision yet.
Okay.
We'll make it closer to the time. So, because I don't know that it's right. I wouldn't want our kids,
To have to wear a mask against somebody that's not wearing a mask, right?
right,
Yeah, yeah.
right. I want it to be a fair game.
Should be a
But
fair mask.
and I also do not want our kids to not play against someone to get that state championship, because we follow that attestation form and that says we have to. So, but I will get, and I'm sure the athletic directors are on top of it also. They're very good with that. I just wanted to see for my own general knowledge.
Okay. Anything else on student activities? Anybody? Anybody have any comments before we leave the public session? Okay, thank you.
Molly, Mrs.